Welcome back to the Let's Glow Show. It's Amanda Sweet, the Creative Fairy Godmother. And every single week we go live with an amazing creative entrepreneur. And we are here this week with a wonderful woman. We got Dee, the founder and CEO of the Well Initiative. We do a round of applause. And we're pinking today. It was just a intuitive thing.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm excited. We finally get some time. So tell me the story. Tell me the whole thing. Tell me about you, where you are, how you got here. We can start with the title.
Yeah. So, and I was just sharing with you backstage that for me, titles it's an uncomfortability with it because I don't like to define myself in that. So when you see me in the community, and I like to evolve, there are things that happen in my life that I'll evolve. So if you tie me to a title, and I've changed, then it's hard for people to really get to know Dee. So I would say before I go into a title, who am I? I am a woman. I am, important pieces of me is I'm really about family. I'm a mother. I'm a spouse. I consider myself a decent friend most days. I'm a sister, daughter. I'm a luminary. So I believe that a part of my calling in life is to shine light on both positive things as well as challenging things, and a social developer at the heart of who I am. And as far as kind of like the Well Initiative, I am the founder and CEO of the Well Initiative. It's a women's association that is all about bringing women together beyond networking. So building real friendships, real growth, both personal and professional, and collectively impact on our communities.
I love it. This is like totally my jam. Okay, you said a couple things that I just want to I want to touch on. I want to touch on the title thing because I think that's important. And we were also talking a little bit backstage about how like we as women are really pushed to be a slave to time. And same thing with titles. That's kind of why I call myself the Creative Fairy Godmother. I've called myself a lot of things, but I've been everybody's like, what's your title? What's your title? And I'm like, I don't know. I do too much stuff and I'm constantly evolving and every day I'm something else. So I came up with the Creative Fairy. Well, somebody called me a Creative Fairy Godmother once and it stuck. I was like, we're holding on to that tightly. But I totally understand. And it's kind of it plays into both of those things, that the masculinity in the workforce where it's like title and time, where we're like a lot more free. Let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. For me, and it really kind of boiled down is actually to what you're talking about is that title and time. And what I realized is the more I elevated in title, the more my time shifted. And sometimes actually it's weird because you would think that, okay, more responsibility, more seniority, more notoriety, that you would have more flexibility. And sometimes the demands of the structure, the masculine structure around our systems, it makes it to where the expectations don't align with the amount of space that you really need to be able to grow and be yourself. And so I pushed back against that. I started to push back against that probably a solid 3 years. I was talking to, so outside of the Well Initiative, I also am known in the community as a youth development champion. So I've worked with an organization called Teen Hype for about close to 15 years. So grew up in some respects there. And when I was shifting over, so I've had different roles there, and I was shifting over into development, so fundraising. One of the things that I had the conversation about with my CEO, Ambra, was about kind of the title. And for me, it was at that moment, there was a job description given, and it was okay, these are all the things that you have to do. And it was like, okay, yes, this is cool. And being a director is amazing, but I'm going to push back on the thing that I want the most, which is the autonomy to move how I want to move and the flexibility to do what I need to do. And so I didn't ask for money, which kind of shocked her. And it actually made her want to like, oh, I got to find the money because she's not even thinking about it. Because I asked for the time. And having that time and any opportunity that I take at this point in my life, I'm really thinking about how does it allow me to be able to navigate my time.
Okay, I want to ask more questions about that. So one, how did you decide that it was time that you wanted over dollars? Because obviously we're going to get compensated either way, I hope. And so how did you come up with that solution as the option for you? And then how did you advocate for yourself in a way that was successful? Because I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of the people that watch the Let's Glow show are women or people who identify as women in the business world or the professional world. And I know that a lot of us have challenges with speaking out for ourselves and advocating for ourselves and setting those boundaries. So tell us how you did it, because we need to know.
Yeah. Well, I'll be 100% honest. My CEO, who's a mentor to me, she also is a champion for you advocating for yourself. So I knew going into that space that I had a support to do that. She wasn't going to necessarily push it out there for me, but I had to know that I had that support. But even in that though, there's still, because of, what we have in the back of our heads, there still was anxiety around it. And I think that the biggest thing for me was really, I did some reflection about my worth and what does success mean to me? What does impact mean for me? How can I have the biggest impact? And so for me, it was me having the autonomy to be able to create and be able to move how I need to move, be able to take care of my family, take care of myself when I need to, get my nails done. Um, all that would allow me to be better at my job and ultimately allow us to grow and to evolve. And so, thankfully, she's seeing the fruits of those labors and the fruit of that investment that way. And subsequently, it allowed me to be able to make a case for why I'm worth what I'm worth. And also it opened up doors. So with that flexibility, it opened up other doors to revenue. And so I didn't look at this one opportunity of working as a director in this organization like this is the only means of me being able to have resources. And so I think that when we look at a job, and the traditionalist in me, because I grew up with my grandparents most of the time, the traditionalist in me is like, okay, I understand the 9 to 5, the grind of that, and there's a value in that. Hey, those benefits that are secure, but
Yeah.
also the ability to have that time also opens up that creative juices in you to allow you to explore other things and explore ways to get other types of revenue and to build out the type of life that you want to have.
Oh, I love it. I love that for you. I love that you were in this space, like you said it, and you said it so nicely, and it gave me chills of being around a leader that was supportive and advocating for you and advocating for you to figure that out on your own. And so I want to kind of go into that and having a supportive leader and supportive women around you. So let's talk about the Well Initiative. Tell me about how you got into it. What was your calling? Like, why women? I want to know all the juicy
How
details.
far back do we want to go? So, okay.
How far you
So,
want, girl? I'm chilling.
so
Let's go.
yeah. Um, okay. I will start at 2009, actually. I was coming out of a really crazy relationship. I always start here, and I know people are like, girl, how does this tie to anything? But I was coming
I,
out of a crazy relationship.
yeah.
And coming from that, it was toxic. There were a lot of layers to it. In some respects, there was like this religious undertone. It was just a lot. And coming back into what I call the fold. So I was coming back to Michigan and I was trying to find my space. But at that time, I was looking at what I came back to, like, oh, it's different. I don't know where I fit in here. And for me, authentic relationships matter. So I don't network for the sake of networking. I don't like to, I know, and this is just me. I will sit with, if I find a person and we just vibe for the whole night, we might be on the dance floor, we might hit the bar, we might, have a whole conversation. And that's just kind of how I connect with people. And so I realized that, oh, people are really on this grind though. They're like, hey, I got to work this room. I got to make sure everybody sees me. And what I saw is that I saw what I felt like some women who I know are amazing women, but when they walk into those spaces, lose their spark.
Mm,
And I battled with where I fit in because of that. And so I started to explore, and then also because of my non-conventional journey into coming back into the fold,
mhm,
a lot of my friends, they had never, I had been married by that time and divorced and all that. A lot
mm.
of them hadn't experienced any of that. So they're looking like, girl, we about to go to Cancun. Like, we don't know what you're talking about. Like, we got all that debt. Like and so I had to try to figure out how to create space.
Mm,
And really, it was about figuring out what it meant to belong and how do you uplift spaces to where women can just be themselves. And so I started out just blogging and just
mhm,
kind of sharing my thoughts about kind of where I'm at in my journey and all these different type of things. And then I connected with two amazing women. I always will honor them, Shanika Hatchard and Mignon Cad, or Cade, who I was going to church with at the time. And I shared with them kind of like the vision that was in my head. And they just jumped right on board. They're like, you need to do it. We're behind you. And they're founding board members to this day. And they allowed me to have that space to really take that, what was in my head about space and about supporting women in a really organic way, and supporting things that are already happening for women in an organic way. So not duplicating efforts, but really figuring out a way to support women who are already doing great work in the community. Um, Allowed that space and that time to be able to breathe and to explore what that meant for an organization. And so fast forward into now, it has evolved. And like I mentioned about time and the importance when I think I mentioned it backstage, about the
mhm,
importance of having that time and the ability to evolve. The Well Initiative, founded technically 2013, and I launched out the first website of 2000 in 2014. And then between there, I, assembled a advising council to people that I really trusted, to give insight into, okay, what am I like? This is something that's coming to my head. Like, what do you think about this? What are you seeing? And so almost like a focus group of women that I trusted to be able to pour into me as I was trying to develop the idea. And so now the organization is really centered around belonging. It's really centered around helping women to find their philanthropic power and the connection between womanhood and philanthropy outside of money, but really our ability to be the heart of humanity. What does that mean for us? And how do we activate that power in the community?
I love it. That's so awesome. Okay, so tell me about what it's been like to be the leader of a nonprofit. Is it a nonprofit?
Yes, it is. We are a 501c3.
Hey,
Thank
congratulations. So I
you.
don't ever had an official nonprofit on the show. Like I think most people are LLCs, so you're going to be our first. So tell us about that experience, what that process is like, what what advice do you have for people that are interested in going down that avenue of the nonprofit status?
Okay, so when I was talking to Ambra about it, she said, "Don't do it." And the reason why she says it is because it really takes a lot of navigating the heart. A lot of people who are drawn to nonprofit, they're doing heart work. And so it's bigger than, it's like, this idea of you see a need and I want to
Mhm,
fulfill this need. And it's not about always the money, but because you're sometimes led by that heart, you got to think about how to balance that out and how to build out a system that allows you to be able to get the revenues needed to do the work. And so I would say that one of my first areas of advice to people is to be able to think about the financial model. And it's weird because you think, nonprofit, I can go through, and I honestly, I can share with you, I have a whole checklist for
cool.
nonprofit that I'll share so you can share with your people.
Yes.
Because I'm believing not being a gatekeeper. There's some stuff that
Yeah,
people will
we're
sell.
gonna put it in
Like,
the
look,
comments.
you don't have
Yeah.
to, you don't gotta sell that here, just give it. And so that part of it is not really as hard. I think that people make it hard because they want to make a profit. But I think that the real part that is hard is thinking about how you're going to finance this vision and this heart work, how the community values it, what value do you bring to the community in this work, and when does it need to evolve or when does it need to sunset out? A part of the concept of a nonprofit is that you are moving to your vision so that you are putting yourself out of business. And what that means is really that you're evolving your work. And so I think that that's probably the main piece, is to really think about that.
I totally agree with you. I think that heart-centered space and that person that's out there that's like, I want to start a nonprofit, is leading from vision, which is a beautiful thing. And I think that they need to transition into, how am I going to make this a sustainable model so we can actually do the heart work at a large scale?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people that are starting out, especially in the nonprofit space or desire to go into the nonprofit space, are thinking about impact only and don't realize how much impact a revenue stream will make to the overall impact. Like, the goal is so that you can get paid to sustain the work, pay other people, make it bigger than you, because we can't do it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's where I'm at right now. So with the revamp, it's a quarterly clothing swap festival, and everybody.
You can get me started because I need to be there.
You need to be there. The next one is in September. So we got time.
Okay, cool.
But everybody's like, are you going to go nonprofit status? Are you going to go nonprofit status? And I fight with myself over that same thing. Like, is it too much? Like, I don't want to give over control. And I'm going to say all the things that I'm feeling, because you can probably touch on them. Mm-hmm. Am I going to give too much control of my vision? Is it going to take up too much time from the work that I'm doing to find and build it into a nonprofit? Because I hear all the time, it's so hard to become a nonprofit. There's a lot of like barriers, and people always complain about the paperwork and the submissions that you need to do, and they're auditing you constantly. Do you have any clap back for me for any of those thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. So one, you're right. so validated. Truth. Right. All truth. Nothing that you said is not true, y'all. This is facts.
Right.
The other part of it is, I think that it's about scale. I think that some of the things that people face, especially when you're talking about, like, if they're constantly auditing you and all these different type of things, a part of it is that it's questioning, you have to scale in a way that allows you to grow with the mission that you say you're set out to do. And if all of a sudden your expenses are looking like, okay, why are they going to DC every week? Like, where does this have to do with Michigan? And you're not tying it and telling that story. So a lot of what happens is that people have to see the story of what you're doing out there in the community. The other part of it is, oh goodness, I'm trying to think about all the things that you lifted.
The board, giving over control.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. I think I understand, and I've talked to, and I keep referencing Amber because she's one of my favorite people. Amber Ruderick, Teen Hype. But understanding your privilege as a founder is a whole different realm of if you were coming into a nonprofit and you were being hired in as that senior leader or as a leader in that organization. And so I would say, from my experience as a founder, you have a lot more say over that founding board. Matters. Who those people are matters. And sometimes it's like, okay, are you aligning? The founding of that organization sets the tone, and those people who found that board set the tone for how they support the leader of that organization and how they balance out their egos and their power. So it's like, okay, your job is to listen to this person's vision and to help them evolve it and help them as they are conceptualizing it to lift it. Your job is not to push them out into what you want, because that might mean that you need to go do that over there, And so I think that having a strong board matters, because that is when you talk about control, and then having good bylaws. So one thing about the Well, I'm a very open person. So I'm like, oh, I'm just going to form this board. We all are equal. We're going to have power and we're going to share. And they were like, yes, but we need to be able to have this in a way to where we are the founding board. We believe in you.
Yeah.
But whoever's in that seat, even if you decide, Dee, that you wanted to retire from this and bring in a new leader, we need to have it in a way that that person feels secure to sometimes give pushback to the dynamic and to give vision and to push the board in a certain kind of way without the repercussions. And so creating a structure where that person in that seat has that power and has a lot more say in the direction of the organization matters. And so I think that once again, sometimes it comes from that feeling of heart. And so it's like, oh, I'm forming this organization. I bring on these people. They're my friends. And you're not thinking about the long term of what that means.
How did you learn all of this? Did you just learn it on the go? Did you take any courses? Like, were you like YouTube universitying it up or like
Everything?
What? All of it. All of it. Okay. What was that journey like for you?
So I always tell this story, and it's so crazy how things kind of just align. I was probably about 8 years old. My uncle, Dr. Truman Hudson, he had a company called Dex Design. He still has a company called Dex Design Associates. And he was the first person that I really saw do community level work at the scale that people are doing it now. So before it was cool to be a social entrepreneur, he was doing that. He started in economics. But he also had a part of my family. Our background is people who counsel unofficially, because people are just kind of drawn to us to get advice. And then also people who care deeply about the community. And so those seeds were already planted in me and just, I think, a part of the makeup of my DNA from the beginning. But I saw him doing this work, and he would take me to meetings. So kind of what I do with my daughter now is like, come on, we got to go to this meeting.
Yeah.
He took me to this one meeting. And this woman, I was I don't know what I was doing. I was playing though. I wasn't like, you wouldn't think I was paying attention. But I do remember him talking to the lady, and he's talking about the idea and about, how she wants to get this purpose-driven work off the ground. And she was so excited talking about, the work and the vision and all that. And he says, okay, great. Now, how are we going to pay for this, pretty much? And I remember to this day, it was like a tension, or the energy shifted in the room.
Feel it.
And he asked me after the meeting, he said, well, he always asks me this because that's just how he is. Question asker. He asks, what did you think about it? Like, how did you feel about that meeting? And he said, and he always talks about how I was like, she doesn't sound like she know what she want to do.
Ooh. I mean, if you know, you know.
And, but now looking forward, having had experience in the nonprofit, so some of the journey has been just the experience and really dedicating my time and my life to the work and being, this is not a fly by night thing. This is not a gig for me. This is a part of my purpose. So I've been in the nonprofit sector for almost 20 years. And so, having that experience, seeing different ways of how people navigate, and then fast forwarding to my work now in philanthropy and fund development, what I realized is that it wasn't that she didn't know what she wanted to do. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. She was excited about what she wanted to do. It was the thought around the money and not having the resources, and will people invest in it, and is it too big, and all those different type of things that made her feel disempowered in that moment. And so I think that a part of my experience has really been being able to be in those spaces. When you see me sometimes in meetings, you'll probably see me kind of being quiet. A part of that is the ability to, leading. You don't always have to lead from the front. You don't always have to be the voice. And sometimes being able to hear what people are saying, the heart behind what people are saying, allows you to be able to really understand what's happening. And what's happening for the nonprofit sector is a lot of that is how do you balance out drive with the ideas of scarcity. So.
It's beautiful. And what an awesome experience for you and now your daughter to just kind of be in those spaces. It reminded me of my college internship. I took a couple unconventional internships, but Paula, love her. She's an amazing person. And our internship, she just took me to all of her meetings. And I just sat in there and, I was in college at the time, but how awesome, how much more would I have learned if I was 8 and
Mhm.
going to these meetings? Because even just sitting in a couple and just watching the way people move and interact with each other is so important. And it teaches you so much. In a 30-minute meeting, you could just sit there and watch,
Mhm.
and if you're really paying attention, you're picking up cues, you're hearing the power dynamic go back and forth or not, and it's a really cool experience. So for those of you that are trying to like learn how to move in the business world, if you can find a mentor that will let you sit in and shadow a meeting, like that kind of experience is next level. And you don't
Yes.
think about it as a thing like, oh, I'm just going to go sit and quietly sit at a meeting. Like, and you might think, why would I do that? No, do
Mhm.
that.
Do that.
Do
Be in those spaces. If you have the opportunity to be in those rooms, be in that spaces. A lot of times, even to this day, my CEO at Teen Hype, she'll say, oh, I'm going to this meeting, and I'll say, can I just come on? She's sure, and that is, once again, it kind of goes back to the beginning of this conversation about your value. What is your worth in the space? Because sometimes when you're leading from the front, you need someone who has your back in that space, who can hear and has an ear to hear. And that's a lot of times I realized that because of my journey, it was a skill that was developed in me to be able to be in space. And thinking about the Well Initiative now and sisterhood building, which is we only have time to go into it.
right,
But
right.
sisterhood building, a lot of
Can we
times,
talk about it for a little
yeah,
bit? I'm like,
yeah,
let's talk about it for a little bit.
a lot of times I am in a space of I'll be 100% transparent. One of the most challenging things is first understanding that I'm constantly learning what real sisterhood means. There have been some toxic things that I learned along the way that I have to unlearn if I'm going to try to be a part of healing women's empowerment, that part of our ecosystem in nonprofit. Then I have to unlearn and be real about some of the toxic ways I have. But it's
Mm,
also realizing that, like, oh, we have what true sisterhood means is hard to lean into because of that. And no shade, masculine energy, it is what it is. And so that idea of who's in charge, who's the I had a friend one time say, like, oh, like someone asked who's the queen bee, and me, I'm like, nobody. And it's like, oh, actually sometimes I think me and you. And I'm like, no. Like, but that is the dynamic sometimes within sisterhood. You're looking for who's in charge. And I think that all of that plays a part in how we navigate professionally as well as interpersonally.
mm. If there is like a quick tip so that we could be a little bit better every day in the way we approach sisterhood or friendship or connection, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah. Mm. Forgiveness. Ooh. And I know that might be cliche,
Well,
but
I love that one.
that's hard, because the reality of it is that we look at people um, very much. Sometimes it's for their potential of who they can be. Sometimes it's for them in their best self, but really loving someone. And that's what I believe sisterhood is. It is this dedication to coming together to really care. If you
Mhm.
really care about someone, it is the ability to love them even when they're not showing up as their best self. It's the ability to love them even when there are times that are challenging in terms of your relationship with them.
Yeah.
And so I have been on this journey of, okay, and of course I'm, because I know that some people will be looking like, D, okay, but what about boundaries? Boundaries are for you. They're not for the other person. And really, at
Mm.
the end of the day, it's about truly having understanding and being able to communicate and ebb and flowing with relationships. I'm not a person who believes that, if I'm your friend, if we're sisters or whatever, that sisterhood doesn't mean I talk to you every day. I look at you as a sister, and and I don't have to talk to you every single day in order to have that connection. It's about, how you align at different points in your life, and understanding that. And so I would say though that forgiveness, and really forgiveness is bigger than the idea of like, I forgive you. It's really that I have grace with you because I want grace in return. So, if you will believe in karma, or, whatever that is, it is the ability to understand that what you put out is what you receive back. And so if you don't provide grace, then how can you expect to receive it? And grace sometimes is correction too. So there's a whole area that we can go down.
Oh yeah. And I know you have a short time today, and I don't think we have enough time for that, but whew, say like that was a word, and I felt that on so many levels, because even just personally, my sister's getting married next year, and so we are, we're 4 years apart, and we had times together and times apart. And I know this is my actual like blood sister, but we are actively working on becoming like friend sisters. Like we are blood sisters, but we're like, no, we are going to figure this relationship out. And we're very different. Like we're just very different people. And that's also something that I had to learn, like with my friends too, my friends, my teammates, my colleagues, that like my idea of you is not who you are.
Yeah.
And if I'm pressing upon this idea of you that's not reality, then like how will you ever live up to that? You won't, because it's in my imagination. And so for my sister and I, we grew up very, very close, and we're 4 years apart. We shared a room all our lives. So we have this specific dynamic, but it doesn't exist anymore. And the way in which we were approaching each other was an outdated way. And so now, we used to fight a lot. And now there was like a moment we had this text discussion, very heated, but it was like, I kept slowing myself down, and I kept saying like, we're on the same team. We have the same goal, and I don't want to fight with you, but I do want to hear. And we were both like, we were giving that to each other. We were feeding it to each other through all of the paragraphs of text messages. It was like, I'm feeling this way. This is what happened. This is where I felt. I still love you, even though, and so like, what we're going through right now is translating into so many other parts of my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like either we miss each other or we misunderstood each other. But at the end of the day, like we are on the same team, know? And myself with all of these other people around me, I'm like, all of us just want to do our best and be our best and learn and grow and experience the world in a colorful way. So we're all on the same team, and how can we support each other and hold and make space for one another? I love that forgiveness piece. That goes for us too. Like I need to forgive myself. Showed up that made my sister feel that way, or made a friend feel that way, or but also giving myself grace to not like attack me, and then alienate the actual thing that happened into something.
It's so much trying to balance it all, and it seems idealistic. I know some people are like, okay, look, this sounds so idealistic, but I think that it's real. And I think that it's a part of the complexity of humanity, of just us as humans, that there are layers to stuff. My grandfather, who was like a father to me, who passed some years ago. One thing he would always say to me, he would say that there are 3 sides to every story. And he said, there's your side, there's that person's side, and there's the truth somewhere in the middle, because you can only see from your perspective. I can't see behind me, and you can't see behind you, or what might be in the further peripheral. And so because of that, you have to be able to understand, you have to be able to hear people. And even if, you understand, so it's really about intent. And if you know that your intent isn't to harm, then you can only speak to your intent. You cannot necessarily speak to how it made the person feel. And that was something that I had to grow into, because I had different situations to where it was like, oh, this person is coming at me, and it took it very personally. And I still sometimes to this day do. But I had to be able to understand that if I, when you're building relationships, and this is, a idea that can, a belief that can be tied either way, personally, professionally, that you really have to have that space of grace to be able to know your boundary. So, it could be a thing of like, hey, you know what? Like, I can hear you, but within the context of this, or the way that you present it has to be presented like this in order for me to be able to hear you. And I can disagree with you. I can say that, because we're humans too. And so, the idea that you have to think the same way, and it's, on the Well Initiative, I talk about clicks and how I'm anti-click, because it's like the idea that, we're heard. You have to think the same way. If we're friends, we have to dress the same way. We have to act the same way. We have to have the same beliefs. We have to even have the exact same values. All that is toxic to me because we have different experiences in life. What I'm experiencing as a mother is going to be different than my friend who doesn't have any kids. And so what I might value around my time might be different for them. And that does that mean that we can't be friends? No, it just means that we have to have a sense of love and respect and value for each other, and growing together, that we're able to have a healthy connection.
Ooh, it's so good. I wish we could talk about this for hours, but you got to pick up your friend from the airport. And
Yes.
Yes, because that's
I hope she sees this. I said I gotta pick you up.
We got you. Okay, so we got 5 quick minutes. What's one last piece of advice that you want to give to our beautiful viewers today?
Yeah, I would say that, so a part of my larger vision is for every woman to radiate in her brilliance. So what that means is to find spaces. If it's the Well Initiative, come on over at the Well Initiative. That's on IG, as well as thewellinitiative.org. And check us out if you're looking for a space to do it like that, or just finding your squad, as I call it. I think that having a healthy support system is important. And so I would say that would be my biggest piece of advice, is to finding, like you mentioned, mentors, friends, advisors, acquaintances that can pour into you when you see them. Finding people, disruptors, people who are going to challenge you sometimes, finding those people and making sure that you have a good solid circle around you, or connected to you, that can help you to grow and to radiate in your brilliance.
Ooh, I love it. Well, you answered my second question, was where can we find you? So I'll ask a different. What do you have coming up next? Do you have any events that you want people to come to? Any things that are going on?
Yeah, so in July 20th, the Well will be having our girls' night out at the Yard. It will be at 4:30 to 8 o'clock. So come out. It's really, so at the Well, we do a part of how we do our events are 2 ways. One is we have Well Sister events, which when you become a member, there's some really cool exclusive little things that we do with our members, and opportunities like that. But then one of the big things that we're doing is Well Vibes. And so this is our summer vibe. It's really about just kind of chilling and connecting, very casual, and come out and just hang out with us and have a good time on July 12th at the Yard in Corktown.
12th or the 20th?
Or 20th. Oh my goodness. July 12th is my anniversary. I keep saying that.
Anniversary. Oh, I love that. I had to say it because it's on the same day as an event of mine, which is it's right after. So if you're interested, so the brand ambassador photo shoot is on the 20th for the Revamp Clothing Swap Festival. So for those of you that are interested in clothing, community, and service, our brand ambassadors are our models. So we do our big group photo shoot on July 20th, but it goes from 12 to 5, but it formally ends at 3:30. So if you don't, you could shoot. I know you're probably going to be busy, but come on.
Maybe we can. I'm going to talk to my people. There might be some way to be able to get us all cute and then go over there, and then afterwards, happy hour at the Yard. Yeah,
because we're going to be down in the area, so we're going to be at the Detroit Shipping Co. 12 to 3:30 is the photo shoot. 3:30 to 5 is dinner. So a little early. Go to the Yard. Go to the Well Initiative Summer Vibes event.
Have a whole day of loving yourself.
A whole day of communing and being cute and having fun.
That would be so cool. Yeah. Make sure you get it to me, so we'll share it out too on our
Send
social.
your phone too.
Cool,
Oh
cool.
yeah. Okay. I
See,
love
this
it.
is
Summer.
this is collaboration. No scarcity. We can do this all together and still move
There's
and grow.
100%. My colleague Allie Baird, she says it all the time. She's like, "There's no competition in community."
Yeah.
I feel that in my soul. I'm just like, okay, I know that there's people that are a part of the brand ambassador program that would love the Well initiative. So I'm like, just wander on over there after this ends. So I'm so grateful for you. Thank you, Dee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so happy we got this time. Thank you. Love you much.
I love you too. All right. Thank you guys so much. Again, this is the Let's Glow Show. My name is Amanda Sweet. I am the Creative Fairy Godmother, and we'll see you back next Wednesday with another awesome creative entrepreneur. Bye.